Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take a whole stack of information and, well, get you well informed fast.
That's the plan.
So today we're diving into something really quite curious. A linguistic puzzle, you could say.
Definitely.
We've got these two words, Armada and Armar. They sound, incredibly similar, right?
Strikingly similar.
Yeah.
And they both relate to naval power, fleets, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So the big question, the one our sources are lined up to help us answer, is this. Are they connected? Is there a shared history here? Or is it just, I don't know, a really fascinating coincidence?
It's one of those questions where your first instinct might point one way, but the evidence, well, it tells a slightly different story. It's actually quite surprising.
Okay, I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, our mission today is basically to walk you through this, get you quickly up to speed on how these words came about and what it tells us about, language itself, how it evolves.
All right, let's do it. Let's unpack Armada first. That's the one most of us probably know. Where does it come from?
Okay, Armada. So it comes straight from Spanish, the Spanish word Armada, which simply means armed fleet.
Armed fleet. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and if you trace that back further, it goes to Latin, Armada.
Ah, Latin.
Which is the feminine past participle of armani, meaning to arm. So the core meaning is really just, a large group of warships, an armed force on the sea.
And there's one example that always jumps out, isn't there? When people hear Armada.
Oh, absolutely. You can't talk about Armada without mentioning the Spanish Armada, 1588.
Right. That's the big one.
That event really cemented the word in the English language. But it's important to remember, it wasn't just English. It's used in Spanish, obviously, Portuguese too, and lots of other European languages. It signifies that kind of powerful naval fleet.
Okay, so that's Armada, Spanish roots via Latin, popularized by a major historical event. Got it.
Exactly.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. What about its counterpart from the Indian subcontinent, Armar? What are we looking at there?
Right, Armar. So the thinking here, based on our sources, is that it likely comes from Sanskrit roots.
Sanskrit, okay.
We're probably looking at a combination. First part, ara.
Yeah.
This could mean something like tool or support. Some linguists even suggest it might derive from arari, meaning enemy.
Enemy, okay.
And then that's combined with the second part, ikar. And mar means, well, to kill, to strike, or to battle.
So tool for battle, or maybe striking the enemy, something along those lines?
Something like that, yes. It clearly points towards a military or naval context.
So given those roots, what's its specific meaning in, say, historical India?
Well, it means naval fleet or maritime forces, pretty much the same conceptual space as Armada, actually.
Huh.
And you see it used specifically in the context of historical Indian navies. A great example would be the Maratha Navy.
Oh, right, under Kanhoji Angre.
Exactly. That's a prime historical context for Armar. It's a word you'll find mainly in Marathi and Konkani, but also sometimes in other Indian languages with, strong Sanskrit connections.
Okay, so now we have both pictures. Armada from Spanish Latin, Armar from Sanskrit roots, both meaning naval fleet. They sound so alike. My gut, and I bet a lot of our listeners feel this too, is shouting, connection! They have to be linked, right? But maybe one borrowed from the other. What do the sources actually conclude?
Yeah, that's the logical jump, isn't it? But here's the fascinating part. It seems highly unlikely that one directly influenced the other.
Really? No direct link?
That's what the linguistic evidence points to. Think about the timelines and context. Armada enters English, as we said, around the 16th century. That's tied up with European history, the Spanish Empire, naval conflicts there.
Okay.
Armar, on the other hand, seems to have developed completely independently, within its own Indian linguistic sphere, tied to its own maritime history, like the Marathas. Different time, different place, different cultural context.
Wow. Okay, so it really is just a coincidence that they sound so similar and mean basically the same thing. That feels almost too coincidental.
Well, it's not just random chance, perhaps. It's what linguists might call a convergence. And there's likely an underlying reason for the phonetic similarity, even without direct borrowing.
Which is?
It goes back to the deeper language families. Both Spanish, via Latin, and Sanskrit are part of the massive Indo-European language family.
Ah, right. The big ancient family tree connecting languages across Europe and parts of Asia.
Exactly. So within that huge family, you often find similar ancient roots for basic concepts cropping up in different branches. Concepts like arming, weapons, fighting. The root related to arm or weapon is very old and widespread in Indo-European languages.
So it's like both languages independently use similar ancient building blocks from their shared ancestor language to create a word for armed fleet.
Precisely. It's a case of parallel evolution. Two different branches of the same language family, facing a similar need, naming a naval force, arrived at remarkably similar-sounding solutions using related, inherited linguistic material. It wasn't copying, it was drawing from the same deep well, so to speak.
That makes so much sense. It's not just random noise. There's a shared heritage deep down, but the words themselves grew separately.
That seems to be the most plausible explanation according to our sources.
Yeah.
A really fascinating linguistic convergence.
So, the final verdict from this deep dive. Armada and Armar, despite the uncanny resemblance in sound and meaning, are not directly related through borrowing. It's a remarkable case of parallel linguistic evolution.
That's the takeaway. No direct influence, just two words blossoming independently from related seeds deep in the Indo-European past.
Amazing.
And if you think about the bigger picture here, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other words are out there across languages that seem totally separate today, that share these kinds of similarities? Similar sounds, similar meanings. Not because one copied the other recently, but because of these ancient shared roots. Or maybe just the sheer mathematical possibilities of sound combinations meaning similar things. It raises a big question about hidden connections.
That is a fantastic point to leave our listeners with. How many other linguistic twins are out there, hiding in plain sight, telling stories of convergence rather than connection? Thank you for guiding us through this. It really highlights the surprising twists and turns in how language works.
Absolutely. It just shows the beauty and, frankly, the complexity of it all. The connections and sometimes the surprising non-connections are all part of the story hidden just beneath the surface of the words we use every day. Definitely something to keep listening for.